Well, hello and welcome once again to another edition of Pray on This. Before we get going, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this video. We now live in the Trudeau government censorship era, and the only way to keep conservative voices from being silenced and not seeing only what Justin Trudeau wants you to see is if you make a conscious choice. I ask you, I urge you to do that now. So, Chinese election interference. I keep getting asked about this. And some of the things I keep getting asked is, you know, you're a professional, John. You are paid to deal with crisis like this in the government. What's going on? Why is this still dragging on? Why is this still hanging around? Well, there are a couple of reasons as far as I can see. First of all, whoever the crisis management team is for the Liberals, and I want to suggest that it's the same crisis management team that used to be the Ontario Liberals crisis management team. Katie Telfer at one time was very big in Premier Dalton McGuinty and Premier Kathleen Wynne's Premier's office. Gerald Butts was the author of all of those election wins. And when they were hired by Justin Trudeau to help him become the prime minister, they took a lot of their staff with them. Those who remained behind were out of a job in 2018 when Ms. Wynne and the Liberal Party of Ontario was destroyed. And a lot of those people went to work in the prime minister's office. The fact of the matter is, they've never been that good at crisis management. Their usual tactics is deflect, deflect. Look over here. Don't look at what this big story is. And it's worked in the past on other things like SNC Lavalin or the We Charity scandal or, blackface. But the fact of the matter is that this is a different animal. This is the prime minister of our country whose sole job is to protect the sovereignty of our nation, both from military attack and from diplomatic attack. And it's very obvious that he's not doing that job. This thing has now been dragging on for 7 to 8 months. I can't remember the exact date when it first started to really fester, but it was in the fall, just after Pierre Poilievre was elected leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. Since that time, Trudeau's tried to deflect. He's been personally caught lying on every single morsel that has dropped, drip by drip by drip. And then other people like the Deputy Prime Minister, Chrystia Freeland, the Foreign Affairs Minister, Melanie Joly, and of course the Public Safety Minister, the liar designate for the Liberal Party of Canada, Marco Mendicino, have been out trying to put this fire out and not doing it at all. I want to say not even doing a decent job of it. They're not doing it at all. Trudeau has on 2 occasions tried to go to the well of Trudeau family friends and Trudeau Foundation members. The first is the former president of the Trudeau Foundation, who studied the committee that Trudeau set up in 2017 to look at the fairness of our elections to certify that they had done their job. That didn't work. And with good reason. This is a committee that was set up by the Prime Minister. It's a bunch of senior deputy ministers or bureaucrats who all work for the Prime Minister. And then the person who's looking into it is a family friend and was the president of the Trudeau Foundation, coincidentally, during the time when the Trudeau Foundation accepted a $140,000 donation from a Chinese billionaire, which we now know factually was told to be given by the PRC, the People's Republic of China, their government in Beijing. So there's not a lot of credibility there as to whether or not this was properly looked into. These federal civil servants who looked into it, whether they want to admit it or not, their jobs are beholden to the government of the day. It is quite common that when a new government takes over, that within 6 months, most of the current deputy ministers are either shuffled to other ministries, or they're shuffled right out of a job. It's the same with the PMO staff. And it doesn't really look good when, something comes along that you're accused of doing, so I'm going to use people that are beholden to me to their job or are personal family friends to look into it. And then when they say that I didn't do anything wrong, well, you all have to accept that. It just smells rotten. When Trudeau realized this wasn't going to go away, he thought, oh, yeah, David Johnston would be perfect. Now, David Johnston is a man of incredible integrity. He was the Governor General. He was appointed by the former Prime Minister, Stephen Harper, to that position. And he's just a man above reproach, except for one problem. He has been a personal family friend of the Trudeaus for over 50 years. He watched Justin grow up. And on top of that, he held a senior role on the Trudeau Foundation board before he took the job as special rapporteur. How can he properly look into Chinese election interference and doing that interference by going through the Trudeau Foundation when he was a member of the board that accepted that donation? I don't know why David Johnston accepted the position. I don't know why he's continued in it, because a man of his integrity knows that this doesn't look good. And when it comes to being impartial and having integrity and honor, we all know that perception is reality. I'm not saying that David Johnston would not do what is best for Canadians. What I am saying is that no matter what happens, he has to say that a public inquiry has to happen, and he has to stay out of setting the terms and the parameters of that inquiry because he's tainted. Just like the Prime Minister himself can't choose who will be the judge in charge of the public inquiry, nor can he set the rules of the inquiry as to what they will look into, because again, that's investigating yourself. The other thing is that when people say, well, is this really true? Is this just some random disgruntled employee at CSIS? You could have said that if it was one or two instances. I mean, if this had died back in the fall, or even if it had died back in January, you could have said that. However, every single time this starts to die, more information is dropped, and more damning information is dropped. It's not just that, hey, there's more to this story. It's, well, there's more to this story, and this is worse than the last time. There's a civil war going on in Ottawa between CSIS and the Prime Minister's office and the Government of Canada and CSIS. And when I say the Government of Canada, I'm not talking about the civil servants. I'm talking about the elected officials being the Liberal Party of Canada and CSIS. It is obvious to me that there is someone or a group of people at CSIS who are terrified by the way that Justin Trudeau's Liberal government is handling the PRC, the People's Republic of China government. The amount that they have interfered in our federal election and now provincial elections and even municipal elections is terrifying. The Prime Minister is not doing his job, which is protecting Canadians. He can't even inform an MP that he knew about in 2021 was being targeted by the PRC. Now, why didn't he inform Michael Chong in July of 2021? Could it be that he had already made the decision that he was going to ask the Governor General to dissolve Parliament and have an election, but having a scandal like that break would be very bad for his political fortunes? I'll let you be the judge on that, but I know where I stand. Every single time another leak has happened, it has been more damning evidence against Justin Trudeau and the Liberal Party of Canada. We have no idea how deep this corruption goes, but the stench of rot in this government is just rancid. I don't know how anybody can even be in Ottawa right now without puking. The actions of this government do not appear to be serious in any way, shape, or form. When people say, "Oh well, he may not have handled it properly," or but he really couldn't be guilty. Really? His actions and his minister's actions are not the actions of people who are not guilty. To sit there and say that, oh, I didn't find out about anything going on with Michael Chong until it broke in the global news until it broke in the Globe and Mail 10 days ago, that's just not believable. And if that is the truth, then the Liberal Party of Canada and their government are completely and utterly incompetent and should be removed from office immediately. But I think that we can take a look at several things and say that no, they do know about this and they are guilty as sin. One of the more telling things to me is when I take a look at the 15 points that the membership of the Liberal Party of Canada put forward as party policy and are telling the government they should do. There are 3 things in there that are truly terrifying. One, all of their climate change initiatives come down to one thing. We want you to live the life that we want you to live. And if you can't travel, if you can't move around, if you can't farm the way we tell you, if you continue to use fossil fuels, we're going to cut you off at the knees and change your life. Also, thinking that mandatory voting with fines and or jail time if you don't vote, well, that's pretty draconian thinking as well. And then finally, wanting to take control of the media. Now, they say they don't. They say that they want to stop people like me who, they could say, oh, well, look, John is just spouting off his personal opinion and it's not based on any fact. He has no reliable sources. He doesn't know who the CSIS leaker is. So he shouldn't be allowed to speak. But let's take that out further. What they want is the government to be able to say, unless you have a verified source, you cannot print that. You cannot publish that. How does an investigative journalist do their job at all? That means that these leaks that we're getting about Chinese election interference would never be allowed because there's no way that the Liberals would say that, oh yeah, it's true. We've been playing fast and loose over here and we've got caught with our hand in the cookie jar. We already know they deny everything. They couldn't even tell us that Justin Trudeau was the person who spent 5 nights in a $6,000 a night hotel room. Do you really think they're going to let us in on true scandals like SNC-Lavalin, the We charity scandal? I mean, hell, if the pictures didn't exist, they would deny blackface. This is where their party's at. Incredibly draconian measures they want to bring forward. They also want to bring back the COVID-19 vaccine, and they want to mandate it and make it law that every single person in this country have the vaccine and have to have boosters. Or you could be punished by law. Whether people want to hear it or not, that's using the power of the state. That's using the power of a gun to force you how to live your life. It's incredibly draconian. The fact of the matter is that I think Justin Trudeau's admiration for the basic Chinese dictatorship goes a lot deeper than any of us want to admit. And that this man is neck deep, actually probably this deep in this. And that the last 2 governments that he has formed by winning minority elections have definitely come about because of interference from the Chinese government. He knows it and That's why he doesn't want to investigate it. He knows it, and that's why he's trying to keep us all like mushrooms, kept in the dark and feeding us a line of shit. All I can say is this: innocent people do not behave this way. This man is guilty of sin. So are his ministers. It is a corrupt government with a corrupt prime minister, corrupt senior ministers, a corrupt PMO, and probably several corrupt deputy ministers. It needs to be changed. Winston Churchill once said that politicians are like diapers. They need to be changed, and changed frequently. 8 years of Justin Trudeau, it definitely smells like my grandson's dirty diaper. That, as always, is Pray on This. Hit that like button, subscribe, and keep tuning in for more insight and professional opinion.